Hello, I'm Father Louis Scurti with Friends of the Word, the Weekday Word, and my guest today is Jeanne Michaud. Welcome back, Jeanne.
Thank you.
Jeanne has been a guest a few times on this program. The topic generally that she and I have been chatting about is slavery, human trafficking, dignity of the human person, and I think today's show will be just right up your alley as far as consumerism and our role in trafficking and slavery. But because this show is reflective, I hope, of God's presence in our lives, I'd like to quote from the book of Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the whole assembly of the children of Israel, and tell them, Be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. You shall not bear hatred for your brother in your heart. Though you may have to reprove your fellow citizen, do not incur sin because of him. Take no revenge and cherish no grudge against any of your people. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." That says it. Respect, love of neighbor as ourselves, and all of it to be holy, which first step is to love our neighbor and imitate God in our lives. The bishops of the United States recently published a document called On Human Trafficking. They called it a horrific crime against the basic dignities and rights of human person. What is human trafficking? Let's review that with our audience.
It is enslaving a person against their will and forcing them to do either sex acts or labor acts, not paying them.
Yeah.
And much worse, abusing them terribly, typically.
Okay, and we've covered that several times before in various ways. And in the year 2000, we had a document issued by the United States Trafficking Victims Protection Act. It provides an important framework for responding to human trafficking. Law. Is the law helping us? Is the law helping those victims?
It does a bit, but it's a long road in getting people to understand the issues and finding and tracking down people. The U.S. law, the federal law, has to be renewed, as a lot of laws do, and there have been some changes. In 2013, New Jersey redid our law, and it is a very, very strong law. It has aspects where now the victims have recourse with their with the perpetrators to, if they've been injured, or and a lot of times they have been seriously, both physically and mentally, to get some compensation for doctor's bills. And now the Johns who use this trafficked prostitutes are fined heavily, and that fine goes into a fund to help the survivors of trafficking.
We as a church, what are we doing officially?
The Council of Bishops belongs to the New Jersey Coalition of Against Human Trafficking, and they are very active in that. The coalition, I also belong to that as a member of St. Mary's Parish, and there was a lot of activity around the Super Bowl that was in New Jersey last year, where the sex trafficking increases greatly around any large event, and Super Bowl is one of those.
When I first heard that, I was astounded, and the schools in the area of the stadium were warned to be very careful with the children walking during the week before and the week after, walking the streets, and they would kidnap children right from the streets.
Oh, yes. Yes. Plus importing them from other places.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All for the sake of prostitution and slavery.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
It's shocking that it's happening today in our society.
It is, and it's accepted in a lot of areas. Another place that children are trafficked, typically it's children, is at truck stops. all in New Jersey, but all over the country. And they walk from truck to truck offering their services, but they're trafficked. Now, I'm happy to say that...
Which means that they're coerced.
They're coerced. I'm happy to say that there is an organization called Truckers Against Trafficking that
Right.
they're working on educating the truckers and making them realize that these people that are knocking on their doors as they're at a rest stop are trafficked individuals.
Are slaves. Trafficked slave. It's amazing. I think our obligation, and hopefully with this program we're doing, part of this is educating ourselves and the public. And it could happen in our parishes, it could happen in communities, and it could happen with various coalitions. Education is important, isn't it?
Absolutely. There is a group of youth called Project Stay Gold. I don't know where the gold came from. And it's a group of middle and high school children that became interested in trafficking and fighting against it, and they've been educated. And that kind of group has been emulated and can be emulated in our school system.
Great, great.
Yeah.
And it's very important for our young people to realize that it's happening, be aware of the signs, be aware of their environment, regrettably.
Yeah, yeah.
The goal of trafficking is always, well, I shouldn't say always, it's money.
Yeah.
The bottom line, that's where it comes from. So this is the human person being bought, sold, kidnapped and sponsored and coerced. It's such an affront to our humanity, and it happens in our society.
It does, and it happens. A lot of people believe that there are a lot of runaways that get trafficked, and it's ascribed very often to poor people. But the message is it can happen to any of our youth.
Yes.
And I look at it, when you say the word poverty, it not necessarily means material things, but sometimes there's the poverty of love, and maybe some more of the well-to-do children do not feel loved, even though they have material things.
Right, right. Okay, another aspect of the whole trafficking issue, slavery issue, is consumerism. And I want you to come back for a future show and just talk about consumerism, how things we use every day might have their origin in situations of slavery.
Okay, I'd be happy to.
This has been Father Louis Scurti with Jeanne Michaud on continuing the topic of human trafficking and the dignity of the human person. God bless you.
Thank you.
Keep the word alive and well.